It's October 2012, and inside a Las Vegas courtroom, two men are facing federal charges. They're accused of hacking slot machines. Prosecutors say it's an open and shut case. For 6 months, these two nobodies exploited a hidden glitch and walked away with over $1 million. But then, they made one mistake, and suddenly, everyone knew. Except, to almost everyone's surprise, they've just pleaded not guilty. It's unexpected, it sounds impossible, but what if they're actually right? This is the story of a glitch, a gamble, and a courtroom twist that shook the casino industry, and to understand how it all happened, we need to rewind to 3 years earlier. It's April 2009, and in Las Vegas, John Kane is a middle-aged guy who's down on his luck. He actually has a good job. He's a management consultant who helps American businesses make more money. But he also has a bad problem, gambling, because he's obsessed. Addicted. He's just wagered more than $10 million on video poker in a single year, losing around $1 million. So now he practically lives at the Silverton casino. The Silverton is an off-strip joint famous for its sleazy mermaid aquarium, and there he sits hunched at a machine, nursing a Diet Coke and a bad back, chasing the big win that gets him back on track. And as usual, it's not happening. All of that though is about to change. His weapon of choice is the IGT Game King. International Game Technology is one of the biggest poker machine makers in the world and boasts $2 billion in revenue a year. And the Game King, loaded with dozens of different games to choose from, like Jack's All Better and Juicy's Wild, is its flagship terminal. In Vegas, they're everywhere because they always work and they always take your money. Now John even has his own Game King at home to practice on. That's how dedicated he is. Still though, he loses. But not today. Today, he wins. There are always small wins, of course. But here's the thing, this small win doesn't pay out small. A few $100. It spits out a jackpot, a few $1,000s. It's not enough to solve his problems, and it must just be a glitch. But what, he asks himself, if it happens again? The next day, it does. And the next. And then the next once more. The Game King is paying out more than it should. He doesn't know why, but one thing is clear. If he can work that out, he can make a fortune. He's about to embark on the biggest gamble of his life. Across the next week, the pumped up payouts keep on coming. John's playing it cool. He sticks to his Diet Cokes and there are no champagne corks flying just yet, but he's onto something. That though is not enough. To really exploit this, he needs to understand what it is, and for that, he needs help. The first person he thinks of is his good friend, Andre Nestor. Bored and broke in the sleepy Pittsburgh suburb of Swissvale, Pennsylvania, he's the only guy John knows who understands poker machines even better than he does. Andre gets on a plane to Vegas that night, and straight away the pair get started. They start logging everything, hands played, buttons pressed, outcomes, and after a while, Andre sees it. The inflated wins always come after a certain pattern of play. They still don't know why, but who cares? They now know what to do to keep winning big, and immediately they make up their minds. Let's milk this while we can. They think they're being careful, but the casino have already noticed something's up. From the very next day, they work the casinos, the Fremont, the Golden Nugget, the Orleans, the Texas Station, Harrah's, the Rio, the Wynn, and the Silverton. They keep it low profile. No wins are too big, but over the weeks, they're rinsing them dry. $10,000 in winnings becomes $50,000 and then $100,000. And behind the scenes, casino security is starting to take note. So far, only John is on their radar. But how is he getting lucky? Luck doesn't happen in casinos. Not long term. Not for the player anyway. It's always the house that wins. So with this guy, the numbers don't add up. But when their surveillance teams pore over the footage, he wasn't jamming a light wand in the machine's hopper or zapping the Game King with an electromagnetic pulse. He was simply pressing the buttons. In fact, there's nothing to suggest that he's cheating at all. But he must be. The casinos and player are about to collide. By May 2009, Vegas is on edge. John and Andre make this a military operation. They work their way around town systematically. They play for hours. A lot of hands. This is poker, and they still have to win. But using what they've learned, they keep emptying Game King machines and then moving on. They know the casinos will be watching, CCTV, facial recognition, plainclothes security, and eagle-eyed pit bosses, but they're careful. They switch shifts, vary routines, swap seats mid-session, space out visits, never overstaying their welcome. They're quietly cleaning up, while the rest of the floor loses its life savings. Soon, their streak takes their winnings up to $300,000. This never happens. It can't, so the fat cats are starting to sweat. They expect to be making billions, and they don't like anything eating into that margin. So management is given an ultimatum: sort it out or you're out. IGT are told it's their problem. They need the casinos, and right now the casinos aren't happy. Their engineers tear into the code, run simulations, even replace entire units, but the outcomes stay the same. Investigators are still looking at John. They're desperate for clues, and suddenly they find one. The machines are paying out jackpots in quick succession, in pairs. But they don't know what this means, so the rumour mill goes into overdrive. Is it Saboteur, an inside man, a genius hacker, or the mob? No one thinks it can really just be one ordinary guy who looks like he's doing nothing. But it is. And his friend. And they're just getting started. By the start of June, things are accelerating. John and Andre have rolled out the scheme to California and New Jersey. Wherever they go, there are Game King units, and their secret strategy works. John has now banked $500,000, but the money now brings trouble for their friendship. The pair start to argue. How should the money be split? Should John get most because he identified the opportunity, or should Andre because he worked out how to exploit it? Tensions rise, and the pair have a row, and eventually they split up. They're now going it alone. The casinos, meanwhile, are still powerless. John is in their sights. They build a thick case file, and there's another big clue. He appears to be playing with minimum stakes, and then suddenly he'll go all in and win big. But how? Still, they don't have any answers. There's no smoking gun. There's barely even a gun at all. So the suits get angrier, the bosses get more stressed, and the techs get more confused. But nothing lasts forever. On Friday 3rd of July 2009, at the Silverton casino, John's luck peaks, and then it runs out on the very same day. First, it's good news. 5 jackpots in an hour. He has no idea, but he's actually just about to make his first big mistake. Each win is large enough to require a hand pay and IRS paperwork. And the bad news? This time, the casino doesn't shrug it off. This time, they move fast. John is still sitting at the machine, sipping on his latest Diet Coke when they make their move. Security surrounds him, and he's arrested in front of everyone on the floor. His last game is still on the screen. 3 aces, 4 aces, 3 aces again. At payout odds of 820 to 1, he's scored an $8,200 bonanza. Game King machine 50102 is immediately shut down, wrapped in yellow hazard tape, and his payouts are frozen, and $27,000 in cash and $1,200 in credits are seized from his pockets. The atmosphere is heavy. Angry casinos don't mess around, and it looks like it's all over. But what's the real story? How are they actually cheating? Nobody can figure it out, yet for that to happen, it will take some special brains. Unfortunately for John, they're on their way. The Nevada Gaming Control Board is called in, and suddenly the whole thing turns serious. On Monday 6th of July, they bring in heavy hitters, 2 nerds with thick glasses and thicker binders from a 25-person technology division, otherwise known as the Geek Squad. They immediately seize the taped up machine, and soon they're combing through its logic tray and EEPROM as if it's a crime scene. And then they find something, and it blows everything wide open. Based on what they've discovered, police raid John's home. His devices, phone records, every scrap of paper with a note on it, they're all taken. Agents pour through months of player logs, jackpot data and surveillance. And now, they're interested in Andre too. He's gone home to Pennsylvania, where he keeps playing, at the Meadows Racetrack Casino. Across July and August 2009, he and a small crew hit one Game King machine 61 times, cashing out a total of $429,945. But on August 28th, a Meadows employee gets suspicious and reports him. By September, he's fully connected to the main case, and John and Andre are now in big trouble. The casinos know their secret. Here's how they did it. Deep inside Game King's programming, buried under years of software updates and patched together modules, the Geek Squad uncover a dormant bug, a leftover from a previous version of the game's code, a flaw that no one had noticed until now, because, as it turns out, that if you follow a very specific sequence of button presses, winning in one game, exiting, winning in another game, pressing the double up button, returning to your first win and inserting a bigger stake, you could increase your bet amount after you've won. So you bet low to start $1, you win at 100 to 1, so that's $100, then raise your bet to $10, triggering a 10 times bigger payout of $1,000. Nice. And that's it. That's what John has discovered. No malware, no external device, no code injection, just a glitch after an update back in 2002. It had been hidden for 7 years. And then, just by hitting some buttons out of sequence by mistake, John had found it. The machine's double up feature had to be active, and it often would be disabled, but that was the only obstacle. For the casinos, it's a PR disaster. They've been outplayed, but at least, finally, it's game over. On January 19th, 2011, the pair are indicted on 2 counts of fraud in connection with computers. It's a federal hacking case, and it looks nailed on. They're going down. But what the feds aren't expecting is a twist. A twist which throws everything up in the air and leaves the casinos over $1 million out of pocket. It's October 15th, 2012, and the Las Vegas federal court is packed for United States v. Kane. Prior to the case, the FBI had made both John and Andre an offer. The first one to testify against the other would walk away with 5 years of probation and no jail time. Despite their fallout though, both had refused, and now here they are. Lawyers shuffle papers, the pair sit quietly. Their bank balances are healthy, for once, but they won't be for long. Prosecutors brace for an easy win. They're using the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. The cash John and Andre won belongs to the casinos, and they're going to get it back. But behind the scenes, John's attorney has been working hard, and finally, now is his time. This is his one shot. He stands, he looks the judge in the eye, introduces him to his client, a simple man, and presents the most audacious defense argument ever heard in Sin City. My client didn't cheat. A poker machine does not qualify as a protected computer, one that you can hack. He didn't use any gadgets or install any malware. There was no hacking. He just knows poker machines. He's played more than anyone else in the United States, and all he did was push a sequence of buttons he was legally entitled to push. In other words, he played what was in front of him, a game, doing what was programmed to do by its manufacturers. Andre himself puts it another way. Who would not win as much money as they could on a machine that says jackpot? That's the whole idea. So the issue wasn't criminal, it was corporate. The end. The courtroom buzzes. The casinos are stunned, and just like that, the case collapses. Citing no legal precedent, the judge concludes does not equal exceeding authorised access. And in November 2013, the matter is closed for good. The case barely makes the papers. No casinos want to admit that they got played, not by hackers or gangsters, but especially not by 2 ordinary guys who could just press buttons and print money, so they stay quiet. Behind closed doors though, they do what they always do when they've been outplayed: claw the cash back some other way by ripping off everyone else. Gaming commissions launch reviews, meanwhile, and Nevada rewrites its rules to prevent this ever happening again. IGT, the manufacturer, scrambles to patch up thousands of machines across the country. John Kane and Andre Nesta walk out as free men, not because they didn't exploit the system, but because the system had left itself wide open. It wasn't hacking, it wasn't theft, it was opportunism, and for once, in a town built on rigged odds, the players beat the house. After the dust settles, they vanish from public life. No one knows where they are today. No press tours, no podcasts, just gone. Perhaps they were encouraged to keep their mouths shut, like the man who hid a computer in his shoe. That story is even crazier, and it's right here to be watched next. Check it out now.